Okay, what are you worried about? People say, what are you concerned about? What do you look into the future, you look into the next year, what do you see? What I see is Greece. What I see is Spain. What I see is the United Kingdom. What I'm seeing played out in the United States right now and being set up for this year is what Naomi Klein famously called disaster capitalism. The rich get richer, the working class gets screwed. Consider it's just some really simple foundational concept. You've got all these Republicans running around hysterically screaming about our debt. Our national debt is not costing us a tremendous amount of money right now because our government can borrow really, really cheap. And even if it did, I mean, there are a whole bunch of different solutions for it. But the easiest solution, the best way to pay down the debt is not to cut spending. It's not even to raise taxes. It's to grow the economy. We have 20 million people unemployed or underemployed. If we moved 20 million people from a situation where they're getting food stamps or where they're actually it's over 40 million on food stamps, from a situation where they're making so little that they qualify for food stamps. In other words, if we raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour, move people from getting government benefits to paying taxes, your debt problem would be solved, or at least your deficit problem would be solved. Nobody's talking about this. In the last 2 years, the Republicans in Congress, they've passed hundreds of bills that have to do with female contraception. They've passed and marriage and gays and they the first piece of legislation that was proposed today in the House of Representatives. I think this is incredibly symbolic of the whole thing. Was it a jobs bill? Because there wasn't a single jobs bill passed out of the House of Representatives in the last 2 years. Was it anything that would stimulate the economy? Anything that would put anybody back to work? No. It was Michelle Bachmann's proposal to end Obamacare. Right. But if you want the economy to recover, we have to grow our way out of it. And we have to grow our way out of it in ways that are rational and sane and not destructive of planet Earth, which is an increasingly becoming a thread that needle kind of thing. Our trade deficit right now is $1 billion a day. That's not our budget deficit. That's our trade deficit. That's the amount of money that we're buying. That's the amount of stuff that we're buying from countries overseas, companies that are manufactured overseas, and bringing into the United States. That's the number of dollars that are going out that then stand as debt as well. We need to change our trade policies. If we changed our trade policies, many of these companies that have sent jobs overseas would bring them back. If we simply said, that's it, we're going to go with a VAT tax. Russia has a VAT tax. China has a VAT tax. Germany, France, Spain. You go through the list. Pretty much everybody has a VAT tax except us. What is a VAT tax? It's a value-added tax. It's where you tax manufactured goods at each stage along the process of manufacture. Every time value is added to it, that is taxed. So the iron ore being turned into iron is taxed. Very small, but taxed. From iron to steel, it's taxed. From steel to flat steel, it's taxed. From flat steel to a car door, it's taxed. From a car door to a car, it's taxed. And then you end up with a cumulative VAT tax of anywhere from 10 to 30% is the typical range in the advanced democracies around the world. And when you export something, you can reverse out the VAT tax. In other words, it becomes a subsidy for exports. And when somebody wants to import something, you say, okay, well, there were 22 stages of production and manufacturing that thing before it got to the United States. We're going to VAT tax every one of them. And now it becomes a 10, 15, 20% import tariff. We understand import tariffs in the United States. We used them from 1793 until basically the Reagan era. And they worked. Well, since the WTO and GATT and all this stuff, declared that you can't have import tariffs anymore, we stupidly said, okay, we'll just do away with them. And everybody else said, okay, fine, we'll do away with them. Oh, by the way, we're going to impose VAT taxes at the border on imports. So if we did just like really simple stuff, except that it's not simple because it would work in the best interest of our country. It would stimulate our economy. It would put people back to work. And particularly if we targeted industries like, hey, wind power, solar power, localizing power, smart grids, bringing the internet up to speed. Pass a law that says that whoever has the infrastructure, if it passes through public rights of way, has to make it available to any company that wants to use it, so that you can buy your cell phone service from 50 different companies instead of 2. You can buy your internet service from 100 different companies or 1,000 different companies instead of 3. You can buy your phone service from 50 different countries instead of 1. You can buy your electric power from 10 or 15 different generators rather than just 1. If we did that, which most other countries in the world have done, we would be moving faster. We would be building an economy. We could be building an economy based on green sources of energy and on information. We could put this country back together, and we could do it in a year or 2. This is not, this is a major project, but this is not something that's going to take generations. It's taken 30 years for Reaganomics to totally decimate the American middle class. But I think we could undo an awful lot of that really fast. But you don't fix the economy by so-called, solving the debt crisis. And if your solution to solve the debt crisis is to cut spending, which is, of course, what, the Cato Institute, formerly the Charles Koch Foundation, is out there promoting, and the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers, these billionaire-funded organizations are, we got to worry about the deficit. This is just this is Judd Wanniski's two Santa Claus theory. This is pure partisan Republican politics combined with disaster capitalism that helps out billionaires and transnational corporations and totally screws the middle class. There's no other way to describe it. And the people are waking up. You've seen 2 populist eruptions in the last 3 or 4 years, the Tea Party movement and the Occupy movement. And they're characterized as being on the right and on the left. And I would submit to you that both of them are people simply saying, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, and acting it out in ways that are generationally specific. The Tea Partiers is mostly boomers. The Occupy movement is mostly people who are in their 20s. But they're both saying the same thing. We know this isn't working. We're not sure exactly what the solution is, but we know who the bad guys are. They're clearly the banksters. We know that billionaires shouldn't be able to buy politicians. If you go to movetoamend.org, this is one of the David Cobb loves to talk about this. He's one of the guys who put this thing together, Move to Amend, to amend the Constitution to say corporations aren't people and money isn't speech. They draw people from the Occupy movement and from Tea Party groups into the same meeting room and march out together saying we're going to amend the Constitution, because this is screwing all of us. So if we go into this year, and mark my words, this is probably one of the most important things that I've said that I've said so far this year. If we go into this year focusing on austerity, focusing on cutting, focusing on trying to balance the budget by cutting, we are going to end up in a double-dip recession like the UK is right now, or worse, like Spain.